Hemp has been the major paper-making material for most of the time since paper was discovered in China around the time of Christ. This first paper ever to be printed on, in about AD 770, is 100% hemp. By the 16th century, hemp was the material of choice for European paper makers. They made it into the finest and longest-lasting paper ever made, including the Gutenberg and King James Bibles and many other famous works. America's Declaration of Independence was also first printed on hemp paper. Most paper of this period was made from recycled hemp canvas and old rags made from various fibres. Today, the world consumes hundreds of thousands of tons of paper each year, and to meet this demand, hundreds of thousands of acres of forest are cut down each year. It's a worldwide crisis. In southeastern Australia, vast areas of native forest are being chipped and bought by Japanese companies like Harris Daishowa. Eugene Collins is a forester turned activist.
Most of these forests take in the vicinity of 150 years to mature and to provide habitat for all the arboreals that require the hollows and things like that in them. This operation will be operating on about somewhere between 40 and 80 years, which is about half of what it takes for these forests to regenerate to their full maturity. This is basically a resource grab by an industry that's in trouble. The whole operation is a biological disaster and should be stopped immediately. There's no need to be flattening these forests. We could be doing it with alternative fibres. Hemp and canaf are just two of them.
John Stall runs a hand paper making and printing business in Northern California. He has found that hemp stalks produce the best fine quality art paper.
Wood pulp is used for paper making not because it's suitable, simply because it's cheap. And it's a byproduct of the whole logging industry. But the available cellulose is something like 30%. It's really not very good, and it has to be processed with all kinds of toxic chemicals.
The water that comes out of the pulp plant, out of the pulp process, has large quantities of chemicals that are potentially toxic to marine organisms that live in the bay. Those chemicals include dioxins, they include chloroform, and a whole suite of other chlorinated organic compounds. Over 2,000 have been identified.
Hemp, on the other hand, is somewhere around 77% cellulose and very few impurities, and it really is an ideal material for paper making.
Realising the problems associated with wood pulp paper, the Dutch government has launched a major research project involving 8 different research institutes to study hemp's potential as a fibre crop for paper and other uses.
I hope that this research will finally produce a process where we can use hemp to make fibers that can be used for paper and probably also other products in such a way that we will have a complete clean process and an energy efficient process that causes very little pollution, and that also will prevent the cutting down of trees somewhere else in the world. It can be used without using pesticides, and it doesn't need very special requirements with respect to soil nutrients.
The Dutch are proud of their perfect crop, 3 to 4 metres in height. Commercial hemp is also well established in France.
L'utilisation papetière avait réellement débuté.
It is used to make special paper, and in particular cigarette paper. In order to make this kind of paper, you need textile fibres that are very resilient. Hemp is one of the few plants in the world that contains fibres of a very high quality.
In Australia, we'd be very silly to let a crop like hemp go because it could solve a lot of our problems. It's a natural weed suppressant because of the way it grows. It grows on these tall, skinny stalks for good fibre, just with a thick canopy of leaves up above, and that just prevents anything underneath from being able to grow.
There are now about 25 paper mills that process hemp. Most are in China, where they've developed a new environmentally friendly chlorine-free bleaching process that uses the whole hemp stalk. In Europe, Germany's largest paper manufacturer, Schneider's, recently converted 2 of its paper mills to hemp paper production. They now produce a full line of hemp paper for books, stationery and art paper.
Hemp can be grown anywhere. It grows like a weed, so that you could very easily supply the pulp mills with hemp and save the few trees that do remain to us for timber.